Welcome back to another episode of Girls Know Nothing. Today I have I call you mummager to people or boss to you, to your face. But people that don't recognise Hannah's red hair, ginger hair, what do you call it?
It's orange, isn't it?
Your bright orange hair. Everyone recognises your bright orange hair. You have your own little cult following on social media, I think.
Maybe.
No, you do, because people actually get Hannah on the podcast. So I feel like you do have your own little cult following.
I think it's nice.
Do you think it's nice?
I don't know. I don't take compliments that well. I'm not that person. I'm very behind the scenes. I'm a BTS gal, and that's how I like it.
For those people that don't know who Hannah is the managing director and talent manager in HLD. So all of the big gals.
Your manager.
My manager. So I can't say too much to insult her or embarrass her because she'll do the same to me and it'll probably be worse.
I'll just edit it out.
Great, good start. So I can't believe it's been over a year since we first met.
I know. One anniversary, darling.
I know. I can't believe, how we first met was weird anyway.
Oh, yeah,
the ending to it was weird. But, one of the for those people that don't know, when Hannah signed me, the end of our first meeting, we were both sat in the back of a black cab together having a little sob. So
drunk crying, yeah. Both crying at 2 a.m. in the back of a black cab.
The poor taxi driver. But it's a good way to end a business meeting, I think.
And then I woke up and you kept saying you wanted to sign. And I thought, yeah, she's probably just saying it because she had a great night, it happens. And I woke up, first thing I got was ITV saying, congratulations on signing Sharon Gaffka. I was like, oh, better tell the team.
Wasn't that the best day of your life? That awkward laugh made me feel a bit worried.
No, it's it was a great day. But I never thought we'd get on as well as we did,
Yeah, definitely.
We get on very well.
I think one of the reasons I signed to and the reason I want to have you on the podcast is because I found you so relatable compared to a lot of managers that I did meet when I left the show. And, just for similar fact, you're a young woman, you own your own business, you've had your own struggles, huh?
I'm youthful.
Yeah, you are youthful. You've had your own struggles and, that's starting a business at the age of 24.
Yeah.
Is not easy.
It's really weird because actually, I was talking to this the other day with one of my staff and it was someone was turning 24 and they were literally I can't believe you started your business at 24. I think I had a very strong head then. I also was very ballsy because 28-year-old Hannah would definitely not do what 24-year-old Hannah done. Honestly, it petrifies me looking back that I literally gave up my job and any security and went, yeah, we'll just see what happens.
Well, yeah, that's to be fair.
If it goes wrong, I'll get another job. I'll work in Sainsbury's, whatever.
Yeah, I definitely don't think. I think maybe when I was younger, I had that mentality, whereas now I wouldn't. But obviously, when I first met you and we started getting to know each other, you said about your life through education and university and how much you hated school.
I dropped out of university, which I think I've spoken a lot about. I almost got kicked out of school. I got excluded 3 times. I was isolated a lot. I went on every coloured report known to man. There was once a time I had so many detentions. I would be so sassy. And I am now, I'm sassy. And I remember then getting detention. I was like, I'm really sorry, but I'm actually fully booked this week. And it got to the point where Miss Honeysett, who was my head of year, she called me into her office and she was like, you have to do detention every day for a whole term instead. So that's what I did. And I spent every single evening with her. And actually, I really enjoyed that time with her. I really did. I had the best time because she literally was my counselor. I really did struggle at school. My parents had a hard time with me. So I think they find it very interesting now that I have a career that I've built myself. Because I
thought you were just going to say they're surprised that I have a career.
Oh, probably that too. Probably that I could support myself.
But it's weird though, with every young woman that I've ever spoken to in my entire life that was naughty at school has done well for themselves because the sassiness comes from somewhere and it's just because they don't like being told what to do and they want to make their own thing.
Oh no, don't tell me what to do. I also have this whole thing, if you tell me I can't, I definitely will do it. And even as well, if you go into a shop and they act like you can't afford it, it's maybe a pride thing. I'm like, well, I'll buy it then just to prove a point. And then I'm like, oh, I don't even want it. I'm going to have to return it. I'm like a salesman's dream.
Yeah, great for commission. They just see you're orange hair coming in and they're like, yes.
Whip it around.
But, leaving university.
Yeah.
And I know what happened. Obviously, other people don't know what happened. So, like, what was that like for you leaving university without finishing it?
Oh, it was really sad. Like, I was really upset. My granddad died like the same time. So it was a bit, it all happened at once. I felt like my whole life had sort of fallen apart. And I was like, oh, it can't get worse than this, can it? And I was like, I'm going to go live with my mother again. I was like, great, off I go. So I went and lived with my mum and I was literally just DMing every company like known to man, like no joke. And yeah, eventually a 66 was the only one who kind of came back to me, which was like a nude magazine. There's probably some in this room somewhere. I have like an abundance of these magazines. And I was so proud of that job and I worked my ass off there. I started as like a social media assistant. I was on like pennies, and then I really grew up and then they started managing girls and that's what I started to do. Demi Rose and Megan Barton Hansen had joined and I was sort of like PAing and that's sort of what I did. And, but I was answering all the emails and it was a really actually quite a brief look into management. And I just sort of figured I could just do it on my own. I don't know why. It's really weird because when I look back, I honestly didn't have enough experience, and I probably, in hindsight, should have had more. But I've learned so much doing this job. And I really do think one of the things that is a good talent manager is just being willing to literally leave your pride at the door and work your ass off. And literally, if you don't know how to do something, don't be scared to ask other people how to do it, or find that contact or dig around. It took me a really long time to kind of build up our contacts and, things like that. So yeah, I don't know. It's weird to think back. It's been so long.
It's weird that you say that you felt like you didn't have enough experience or knowledge to be able to actually go on your own. I saw a tweet earlier today saying if you ever feel like you're unqualified for a job, look at some of the people that run the country and then apply.
Yeah, I actually don't we have a new Prime Minister?
We do.
I don't even care at this point. I feel like unless the energy bills are going down, who cares?
But it's weird because your first talent was Demi.
Yeah, so it's actually, technically she's not. I just don't really talk about what I was doing. So when I was at 66, I wanted to see if I could do it on my own. So I set up, HLD, but in secret. And it was like a marketing company. And I was doing like a lot of it sounds really random, but I was doing like logos for like aesthetics companies and stuff. Like that's what I was doing. It's like side hustle, make more money. Like it was nice. It wasn't nice. I worked a lot of hours. I was tired a lot. And yeah, so I started managing like micro influencers. Actually some of them have gone on to do like quite big things. So it's interesting. Like they had like 10,000 followers. And I was working with like cute nutrition and stuff, like doing little bits like that. And that was, sorry, when I go like that, I'm thinking back to that time. So it's like a really long time ago.
Nostalgic.
And then I managed, more glamour girls back then. Because that was kind of, if you don't know what 66 is, it's like a nude magazine. So it was very glamoury. So that's kind of where I was at. But then the first big client I got was Demi Rose. And then after that, I signed Harley Brash, who was my first Love Islander. And yeah, they were with me and I really enjoyed it.
Do you ever find it like nerve-wracking or terrifying that people are literally trusting their entire life to you?
Petrifying. I take it all very to heart. And, I guess maybe because you know me very well, I'm quite tough. And I think that a lot of people, they don't, I'm quite eccentric. So people think, but people don't see how emotional I am, like in terms of how much I wear like my heart on my sleeve and I really take everything very personally. And I think it's a great quality about myself and it's also my worst because I can't just let it go. Like I will think about it all night, or if someone isn't happy, like I will literally not rest until I've tried to sort of fix that. Or, and sometimes you just can't and sometimes you're not a good fit. But yeah, I have this, I think that's where there's a difference in managements as well, is like, if you care or not.
Yeah.
I think caring is important.
Do you think that's probably where some of your like hardships are when it comes to managing talent, is that sometimes personalities clash and because you take that to heart?
Yeah, Yeah, like I have a big personality too. So, I really, I one of the things I had to learn on this job was to manage other people's personalities and also expectation management, things like that. There were things I really didn't learn at my other job. Like I said, I really didn't have that much experience when I started this company. So everything I have sort of learned has been on the job, really. And, in terms of personalities clashing, yeah. And I've had to learn also when to stop talking. And that was really hard for me. I have always been so defensive my whole life. And then I had to sort of learn to be like the opposite at work. Don't get me wrong, I go home and I will absolutely argue that the sky is green if it's blue. But at work, I know when to kind of stop that argument. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does make sense. I can just see you like thinking like in the corner of your eye.
The thing is that I literally don't do podcasts, right? The last one I did was a really long time ago, like a year ago. And I have very much just stayed off the grid. So for me, it's always interesting because I also think I'm not that analytical. I just chat shite like all the time. So I'm just like, why do I want to listen to that?
But sometimes people chatting shit is like where the best like inspiration comes from. Like how many people have podcasts out there that literally just chat shit, but people love listening to it? And I do think you do have a really like inspirational story, even if you don't think you do. I think you do because, when you look at the talent you manage, how many people work for you for HLD?
Yeah.
It's not just your talent management. I'm just blowing smoke up your ass. Please love me forever. Most of the talent managers, or not, most of the people that own talent managements in the industry that I've spoken to are generally male.
Yes, they are.
So, like, just want to float that out there. They're generally male. Like most of the ones I've ever spoken to are. And, did you find that hard to like kind of not be I don't know if you're the first female, but like,
be
one of the most notable females in the industry that owns a management agency?
I was blowing smoke when I was thinking.
Yeah, I know, God.
It was difficult at the beginning.
Yeah.
It was also, it's not necessarily my gender I've ever seen. It's my age. The fact that I'm young has, I think, put people off a lot throughout the time. Imagine as well, like you're trusting me with every part of your life. That's a hard thing to trust a 24-year-old with. Or even now I'm 28 and I think maybe because I'm closing up to that 30 mark, right? So it's like, she's 30, she's qualified now. Like, but actually, and it was like everyone was sort of 40-ish, no distract, but they were just doing, they were around a lot longer. They've been doing it a whole lot longer than me. And it was like a kind of like a fight to be respected in this industry. It really was. And when there was a breakthrough moment for me not long ago. It was literally not long ago. It was like I was with the BBC and we were filming. And one of the guys who's like the production manager, Romy, you were there. So I was gassed, by the way. He was like, so how long have you worked at HLD? And I was like, I own it. And he went, what? He was like, I love HLD. Like, I literally was going through it and I was like, this is incredible. And it was like the first time I was like, wow, like people, like, and he'd said that he'd heard about us before. And, it was mental that people now know who we are. And it felt like I was fighting to be known for so long. And it's kind of like trying to knock down all these doors. And it's kind of, as well, when you're in management, people put you in certain brackets. Sort of even like as people, it's very much, we're a Love Island agency, a reality agency. And then this year we've very much rebranded completely. And I really wanted everyone to, I never started this agency to be just all reality TV or whatnot. I very much started the agency because I wanted to be, like a change in management in the way that the people do things. Managers are managers don't get enough credit. We're the people you call at 2 a.m. crying your eyes out because your boyfriend...
Don't I know about
it. When life is serving you shit, when work is kind of slowed down, it's reorganizing your life and restructuring it and replanning. Like, there are so many lows with so many highs, and on social media, we'll very much make out everything is incredible all times, but it's stressful. It's always stressful. I'm stressed all the time. All the time.
I try to make your job a little bit easier, but I don't think I do sometimes.
Actually, I have incredible clients. I really love my clients. It's never really talent that make it stressful, It's very much like, it's just a lot of moving parts, That's it. It's like, you're doing this brand deal, and you've got to do this, and then you've got like, oh, well, your lawyer's currently doing this contract, you've got to be on top of that. And, you know, so that's kind of where I think, you know, time, like your own time management comes in. It was like, I think one day I literally had a breakdown. I was like, I just can't focus. I've got too much to do. And everyone was like, you need a PA. And she revolutionised my life. She sat in front of everything.
But so kind of what inspired the HLD rebrand then?
I think it was, I'm trying to think of my mindset when it was all happening. I felt like I was just very unhappy with the agency, like in terms of its public perception, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah.
It's something that I think other people would look at and they wouldn't really see it the way I see it. I look at my company the same way as someone would look at a clothing brand. How does that look like to the outside world? Like what, you know, what's our aesthetic? What, like, how does it all look? What do you represent? And I felt that it had kind of, it had gone into a completely different agency that I ever wanted it to be. So, you know, I had to go back to the drawing board and, you know, me and my team really sat there and we went, we have literally almost lost what we actually represent anymore. Like we'd almost forgotten, you know, why I even began this. So we sat there and it took us a really long time to get back to it before we were like, right, this is the clients we're taking on. This is what we want to represent. And a massive part of that was also the fact that the world changed so much at one point, especially during COVID. Everyone was fighting, you know, for their talent, you know, to make money, right? And it was like taking on all these like fast fashion posts, stuff like that. I never really wanted to do that to begin with. I always wanted to do campaigns of meaning, and I always wanted to represent talent who had like a cause, I guess. So, you know, what you're doing for women and spiking and, you know, you're so different. You know, we've just obviously taken on Paige from Love Island. She's a paramedic and what she's going to be doing around that. You know, Faye and her love of dogs, and she's an ambassador for the guide dogs. Every single one of our talent, I could reel off exactly what they stand for. And that is so important to me. In everyone we manage, they have to have, you know, something they're passionate about, substance, you know, core values. You can't sell your soul for money. And I think that sometimes it can happen in this industry. And I just felt that our branding had to represent that. And sometimes a real rebrand is good for the soul. And we really did, you know, we rebranded completely. We got a new office, everything. It was almost like we started fresh. You know, we had like new teams come in to do different things. I feel good. And I felt at the time I didn't feel good. It was probably like, I think February this year was like the lowest I've ever felt in my life. Like I really was not in a good place. And now I'm like one of the happiest I've ever been. So it's, you know, it takes time. Obviously, everyone has things in their own personal life too. And it's always hard because especially because I'm a manager and I manage people's careers, it's almost a stigma as well. And something that maybe I put pressure on myself is that I'm not really allowed to have feelings and I can't really speak about them. So so everything I do is sort of very much in like behind the scenes. And it's almost like frowned upon to ever have anything going on, because then it's like, oh, but people could think that it's affecting other people's careers or your work, and actually it's not. So yeah. That was my tangent.
No, to be fair, the tangent is going in the right direction, like talking about what's good for your soul and like not being allowed or feeling like you can't have other things going on. Obviously, you know, there's a lot of stigma around women that have very flourishing, very busy careers, because then there's a question about their personal life and how their personal life gets impacted and whether you want to have children and whether you can look after your husband and all of that rubbish.
Children petrify me and what they'll do for my work in life. It is something that you have to think about as a woman. It's like, and also, you know, the people do ask me. Or recently, actually, I very do, that doesn't make sense. I very much keep my life very private. You know that about me.
Yeah.
You know, I remember even one of my talents said it to me once. And I was like, I'm just going to go out with my boyfriend tonight. And they were like, oh my God, when did you get a boyfriend? I was like, 4 years ago. I have been with my boyfriend for a really long time, but I just don't put it on social media. I really don't think it's anyone's business. So I really just keep my life like private. And yeah, I forgot the question now. I don't know why I started that.
No, I think it was just like, do you like... To be fair, every time we have a chat, it just goes off into like lots of different directions.
I'm terrible. So we have a girl called Sharon that we manage, and we are the worst for it. We never finish a conversation ever. We like butt into each other's. Like, it's honestly horrific.
I've never had a conversation with the both of you together at one time, so
it's wild. It's wild.
Noted. But like for me, it was like, how can you, obviously when you're saying you keep your life private, how do you manage, your long-term relationship with, I probably shouldn't say his name.
You can say his name. I've said it before.
Hi, Connor. How do you manage like your long-term relationship with Connor, as well as like all of the long hours, the rebranding, the talent you manage? Like, how do you ever find time to do anything else?
It is hard. It's hard. That was it, what I was saying before. Go back to it. People keep asking us when we're getting engaged. And I'm like, oh, poor Connor. But when are we? No, it is very difficult. And, Connor is amazing because he really has allowed me to focus on my career. And, sometimes the late nights I think are like, I do annoy him probably. Well, I know they annoy him. But, that's my career, and he's always supported that. And yeah, I think it's harder at the weekends when my phone goes off or if there's an emergency and, we're trying to chill. Sometimes that's really hard. But on a Sunday is like the one day now that I'm like, right, I'm not doing anything. Occasionally I know I have to, like we had a personal appearance last week and someone was like there. So I just had to check in to make sure, like with the talent manager. And he's fine with things like that. But I really do try now on like my weekends to work as little as physically possible. And before some weeks I will clock crazy hours. Like I will get up at 5, I'll work for a bit, and then I'll work out, then I'll go into the office, and then I'll come home and I'll carry on working. And then I'll go to bed.
Do you think...
My eyes hurt.
I heard something else. And that's probably just my mind.
Oh, stop it. You're a disgrace.
It's always the quiet ones. Well, I'm not actually quiet. It's always those ones you got to watch out for, though, isn't it? But no,
I know your personality is so different to what everyone always says. My one thing with you is always like when people are like, Sharon's so serious. I'm like, she's so not, because I'm not serious at all. Like, I'm not corporate. I'm a little bit crude. Like even yesterday, I had a meeting, like quite a formal meeting, and they were like, oh, Hannah, you're like, well, I was trying to, because it was my friend's company and I went in to meet their like partner or whatever. When I said, like a managing director partner or whatever. And they were like, oh, I was telling them you're absolutely bonkers, like you're off your head. And I was like, yeah, fair. All right, I'll take that. Because then at least, I quite like it, especially when, I'm out on like weekends, people meet me and stuff. They always find it absolutely baffling I run a company. Because I don't come across like that. But actually, I'm a grafter. And I'm pretty clever, to be fair. I'll give myself that.
I think that's the thing. And I think that's why I love you so much, because it's not just about...
I'm very conscious of my fingernail.
It's all right, we've got the same one.
I didn't have time.
It just looks really bad, doesn't it, to be honest? But it's one of those things where I think you're proof that you can just, as if you work hard and you set your mind to something, that you can make something regardless of, what school has taught you or told you what you are.
I know, my school, I remember once there was a science teacher who told me, I would name and shame, but, whatever. He told me that I would end up as like a bin man. And I remember saying to him, and this is what I was saying, I'm very sad. I was like, and what's wrong with that? They make great money, my mum said. And I think you can do anything you put your mind to. You just have to be willing to do the hard graft. And that's the one thing that I have noticed, especially, and I see this on LinkedIn all the time. I've become like a bit of a LinkedIn bandit now. I don't post.
LinkedIn influencer.
I'm like, no, I don't post. I'm like a stalker. Like, I'm watching everything. And, people talk about it a lot, which is like, like millennials and their work ethic and stuff. And I can tell you straight from having people come and work with us or, the work is so different to me. I remember my first job, literally, I used to work like 2 jobs. When I worked in Debenhams, I worked at Yates and Croydon. Yeah, big up. I used to do back to back. And sometimes I'd get like 3 hours sleep. I always wanted to make a change in my life. I always wanted to be comfortable and never I always put this thoughts out there in my head that was like, I never wanted to have to check my bank account and think I couldn't afford something. I always wanted to be comfortable. And, you know, my mum was a really powerful woman, like in industry. She, you know, was part of the team who founded Race for Life. She's my director of Cancer K. And then my dad's like a PE teacher. So it's not like I had a hard life, but it is a case of I just wanted more. I don't know if that's bad to say, but I just did. I've always wanted to be, you know, the first millionaire in my family. I wanted to be the first person, you know, to create this a massive company. Like I'm the first. Everyone in my dad's side is like a teacher. Like that's like a thing.
Yeah.
You know, my little brother, he just got into he began being a teacher.
Oh.
You know, and the other one works for me. Ha ha.
I mean, that's, you know.
He's great at his job, by the way. But yeah, so that's the whole
Love you, Harry.
Love you. But that's the whole thing. So, you know, I really did want to be different.
Do you find it hard to have family working for you?
You ask him.
I know what his answer would be.
We don't speak that much, you know.
Do you not?
We speak about work stuff, and sometimes, you know, I think every now and again, I think maybe people have seen us having a little tiff. But, you know, I even said to Romy yesterday, me and Harry were in the office together, just me and him on Monday. And I was like, we didn't really say much to each other, to be honest. And at the end, I was like, safe, have a good day.
He's probably just fed up of being around women all of the time.
I think we're nothing but positive influence on him. Positive.
Do you think?
Yeah.
Maybe, yeah.
Honestly, I think if men spend as much time with women as Harry does, they would understand women a lot better.
That is true.
Everything is to do with hormones. You know, like something that is funny on one day could be really unfunny the next day because it's like their time of the month. Like that is just how quickly women are. And also, you know, with women, I find working with women easier. I have worked with men before and they are hard work. Women, I will always say they just get it done every single time. I love managing women. Love them.
It's because you're like the only agency that is like a female-led talent management, really.
Yeah, it's, you know, and we'll always stay like that. But I won't shut my doors to men. Like we are open to that idea, you know, and kind of moving in that way. But it will always remain very much female-focused.
Is it because you had like do you think that maybe you started a female-focused agency because you grew up with a strong woman?
Interesting. I've never thought of it like that. But I always thought the reason it was kind of in my head like that is because 66 was all women. Everything was women, but it was run by all men.
Okay.
And I always was like so confused. But I was so proud of what I did there because I really wanted to, you know. And the one thing I loved is they actually did teach me a lot about women's welfare and they really did care. But men will never understand women like a woman understands a woman. Yeah, so it's all like run by men. And, you know, that's not really like an issue, but it was very much, I wanted to change that. And so when I started the agency, and also, you know, when I started, I was very much looking at different agencies and ones I looked up to and this, that, and the other. And I really was like, how am I going to make myself different? You know, the market's so big, there's so many managements. And it's true. And they pop up all the fucking time, like all the time. I'm like, someone you've never heard of before, next thing you know, they've got the next biggest influencer and you're like, damn, like where did that happen? And I always feel like really, I'm like, yeah, good for you, like well done. Especially if they're young, like I think that no one would seem to be doing the all women thing and really pushing it. So that's how I made my niche. I really, the one thing, because I guess because I did a fashion marketing degree, wish I finished it, but I didn't. Marketing was something I really enjoyed and it was like quite creative. So yeah, that's how I did it. And I always had a really good strategy for marketing of how I wanted to do that. But I am also very impulsive. Like I would literally go, like, do you know the story of how we changed office?
No.
So basically, where we're sat here doing this podcast was our old office.
Yeah.
I came back from LA from doing the Opoly campaign with Emily. And I walked in, I went, I fucking hate this office. I don't want to come back in here again. I was like, so I said to, can I say your name? I said to Romy.
About 10 million times
Have
already.
I? Oh, sorry. I said to Romy, I was like, we need a new office. And she was like, right away. And literally, she spent like a week looking, went to see it. I was like, I want it. She got it right though. She knew exactly what I wanted. But I was quite specific. I had a very particular window type I wanted, everything. And
well done, Romy.
yeah, no, she got it, she smashed it. And then that was it. And I did also the same thing when I got home from LA to my house. I was like, I hate this house. I want to move. So then I moved.
So then being
That was actually really tough though, because I've got 2 dogs, so it's fucking difficult.
Yeah, I can imagine. And men aren't very helpful at packing up houses.
Well,
I mean, Connor might be the exception to the rule, but
I asked him, I'm not digging him out in this podcast or anything, but I did ask him the other day because he was like working from, he had holiday. So I asked him to fill in the holes in the walls that he excessively put in the walls where he likes to drill and move stuff.
right.
And I literally, this morning I woke up and I was like, he hasn't fucking filled in these holes, has he? I thought, well, we're going away for like 3 nights. Get back. I'm going to have waiting in a little Amazon box for him. Filler.
I mean, okay, going back to being impulsive. What do you see like next steps for HLD? Like what would be long-term goals?
I want to expand. I love the podcast market. You know, obviously we have Grace and Saving Grace. And then obviously yours is the first podcast we've kind of launched, you know, in conjunction with a talent. So I would love to expand that out more because I think podcasts are an amazing way to show personalities and really do a lot. So the podcast side, I've always wanted to take HLD to like another country, but I think there's way more time needs to be done there. But I am very proud that I do own this company 100% myself.
It's a grafter built up from the bottom. That's what it is.
Yeah.
But then like, what's being the grafter and putting all these hours in and like trying to work on your relationship at the same time? Like what has been the downfall for you like in that sense? Because I know there is some.
It's hard because I feel like you know all these answers.
I do know the answers.
So I'm actually trying to think of actually what the correct answers really are. But I think my mental health has taken a massive toll. You know, anyone who owns a business, especially in COVID, and doesn't admit the fact that actually that was a crazy time and it was hard, really tough. And I guess as well, maybe my age was something to do with that as well, because maybe my emotional capacity wasn't quite there yet. Even now, you know, I'm not a very emotional person. I also would say that I have one of the things that actually I find quite sad, but it's very true. And if I was being really like honest with myself, I had to learn to become quite detached to do this job. So although, you know, I love all my talents, so I don't want to like sound like I'm contradicting myself because I do love my talent, and only you could really say from your side of what I'm like as a talent manager, but I'm very heavily involved.
Yeah.
But in terms of in different aspects when things haven't gone like right with brands and things like that, you really have to be able to detach yourself and not beat yourself up. And, you know, and I think that kind of really did affect every part of my life when I became more like that. You know, my friends will always tell you, like, I'm not a big hugger. If I'm super nice and I'm like, oh, I love you, they're like, what?
Are you feeling okay today?
Yeah. And, you know, I'm kind of like that in my own relationship as well. Like, I'm not super lovey, you know. Well, actually might make me a bit emotional. Yeah, it is quite sad, but it is something that did happen for me. And I think it's because I started so young, for sure, that I became more like that.
So like 28-year-old Hannah now, what would you have said to 24-year-old Hannah?
Enjoy it more, because I have always, and I probably still am now, chasing the next big thing. You know, like nothing was good enough. And I wish I celebrated my little wins more. Like I never did. And I've never really sat there and gone, fucking hell, look what we've achieved. I've always gone like, yeah, but this person's doing this. Or like, I'm like it with my talent as well. I'm like, you know, oh, Sharon's here, but I want Sharon to be here. And I'm like chasing that. And I'm probably worse than even like how talent are to themselves. I'm like, I want this to happen because they deserve this and I need to get them there. And, you know, and I set myself these goals. Even like, I don't even know if people really know this, but for a really long time, I used to have all my talents goals on my phone.
I've seen that.
On my screensaver. So I was like manifesting it for my talent. And they're not even my goals, they're their goals. So that's how dedicated I was to that. But now my screensaver's a picture of my dog.
It's really weird because when people say they're always chasing the next big thing, some people see that as drive, but then there's also
I think
that
it's a
downfall.
little bit detrimental. I think there is this whole hustler culture now. Every podcast I've ever listened to in business, it's like, they're talking about the worst things that ever happened to them and then like their hustle culture. And actually, we put so much pressure on ourselves. And I think we put a lot of pressure on young people. And, it does, you can literally lose your mind working crazy hours and, trying to impress everyone and being like, yes, man. You can literally almost self-destruct slightly. Like I was saying to you earlier, I can always tell when I'm starting to burn out and I start getting very unwell. And I'm very, I was like, I'm kind of there now. Like I feel very burnt out now, but I'm aware of it now. So that's why I'm going away on Friday, just for 3 nights to just chill. And I think, sometimes you just need that.
Like with the toxic grind culture and things like that, and always putting other people's goals before yourself, like how does that make you feel?
You know what? I take things to heart. Like I said, I am very self-critical. I take everything very personally. So when I can't really listen to all the business podcasts anymore. I feel like shy sometimes. Like it can feel like that. And, in terms of like focusing on my talents goals, I really enjoy my job. Like I love my job. And I think you wouldn't be good at your job if you didn't love your job. Like when I see someone on like a billboard, right? Or like a TV ad or like even if it's just like their picture comes in my mailbox, I'm like, I'm so proud. And I feel very much a part of that. It's kind of looking at myself do that. If that makes sense?
Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think it's one of those things where I always ask people that own businesses or in your situation where I always think, do they feel like they've not let themselves down, but do they feel like they could be doing more for themselves instead of always doing something for somebody else?
Probably. That's probably the honest answer. I could probably do more for myself. But I have learned to do that more. I do like my Muay Thai and boxing a lot like during the week now. And that's like taking time for myself. And I try and be really consistent with that. I've only had to cancel a couple of times. I don't know, they might be watching going, no, that's a lie. So that's kind of taking time for myself, I guess. I've learned that exercise is really good for anxiety. I really hate exercise, by the way. Like I'm not good going to the gym at all. And but now I am. And actually one of the things that people don't talk about in this industry, and obviously I know a lot of people who are behind the scenes like me, and I also, have talent too. And everyone kind of feels the same way. Everyone's sort of even like comparing to their own physical looks to each other. Like, or like, I don't know how many times I could tell you. And to be fair, I will argue that it always is men who say it to me. And I'm always like, I don't know if I should feel like shit for this or not. But it's like, oh, do you ever just start to feel really shit when you're around all these like beautiful, skinny talent? I'm like, excuse you?
That's a bit rude. Watch yourself.
I don't think they mean it in that way. What I think how it's being, sort of meant is, you got these we, especially at one point, we used to manage models. Like the evolution of HLD has been it's changed a lot, So I think that was kind of what they meant. Like you've got these girls who are doing like underwear campaigns and then like I'm sort of rolling into McDonald's. So I think it's just one of those ones where it's even like media, when media is like rude to someone because they put on a little bit of weight or something. Naturally people just ask weird questions.
It's
or like
really
people
weird.
genuinely will ask me what my talent earn and stuff. And I'm like, how do you have so much confidence? Because I'm never going to tell anyone anything like that, ever.
It's really weird when you were talking about like comparing appearances to talent because again, with models, it's their job.
Yeah.
So they have to put a bit more effort and focus into it than the normal person.
I'm never going to... Sometimes I forget to eat lunch and sometimes I will eat too much. It's just what it is. It depends. I have none.
That's a lie. I think you do.
Eat a salad, have a glass of wine.
But sometimes you turn around, like when you're talking about taking time for yourself, like you're like, no, I've got my blow dry.
Oh, I have a blow dry every Thursday.
Yeah, see? It's weird that I know that now, that I'm like, no, that's Hannah's blow dry time.
Yeah, 8 o'clock.
Now I know where you are.
Oh, people know where I am anyway.
But it's like, I think it's one of those things that's really important. And I guess I kind of resonated with you when you were talking about business podcasts and everyone's talking about how they're pushing for the next big thing and like how they always, like they're doing better than everyone else. And they don't actually talk about the real things behind business, like trying to take time for yourself, trying to invest in your own relationships.
Also understanding as well, like how business works. When people make it look so easy, people almost forget that how hard it is. And then, it's always interesting when you hear the stats of like how many companies go under in the first year or things like that. And, no one really ever focuses on that, or looks at that. So, if you've got a business and even if you're fucking breaking even, you're doing good because it's hard. It's hard to have the right team in place. And it takes a while to get the right team in place as well. Whether that's staff or externals and stuff like that, you're never going to get it right first time. Making sure that you don't punish yourself too much,
I guess so. So on that topic about making sure you don't punish yourself.
These chairs are really low, by the way.
I quite like them.
I actually picked these chairs.
Yeah, I know.
And I really I sat in them and I went to Romy, I was like, Christ on a bike, why am I so low? I feel like an old woman.
Well, now you know how I feel every week. But no, so I guess...
They're comfy though.
You know what the final question is?
What?
What?
Oh no, I do, sorry.
So I was like, you've literally been here for most of the time I've recorded these. But no, the final question I always ask every guest, and I've actually always been keen to know your answer. And I'm surprised this is the question I've never asked you.
We talk about a lot of stuff.
We talk about a lot of stuff, and it's probably not a lot. Most of it's not safe for work or for camera. But what would you say to somebody who doubts you and your future success based on the fact that you are a woman or a young person?
The one thing I have learned in this job, and I guarantee you would say this about me, and my staff say it about the time, I am fucking resilient.
Yeah.
You can, I always, when I have a tough time, you know what song I listen to? Cardi B, when it goes like, I go down 9 times, down 9 times, get up in 10. I feel like that's very much me. So I actually like it when people doubt me because it makes me really work harder. I think we're past the time now where your gender can really get really in your way, for especially maybe what I do. I don't know about everyone else in the industry. I don't want to speak on behalf of all women because that would be wrong. But I think anyone who doubts me, I think it would be a mistake. I don't know if that's the right answer, but...
No, there's no right answer, there is there.
I feel like I am so determined to do well, and I'm so determined to achieve my goals. And I've always been that way, always. And I'm very much like tunnel vision. So,
I mean, no, I think that's a good answer. And obviously you have your own brand with your orange hair. You can tell that Hannah had a say in the brand. Apart from the fact that orange is my favourite colour.
Interesting fact, our logo. So the guy who did our logo, he was incredible. And he actually matched, so the orange circle we've got on it, he got a picture of me and he actually pin dropped it and took the exact colour from my hair.
I never knew that.
No, it's cool, right?
That is cool, actually.
It is cool. I do love the colour orange. And if anything, I got really bullied at school. Really bullied, really badly. I hope you all regret it deeply. As I got older, I really regretted dyeing my hair. I had black hair. In fact, I was showing Romy pictures yesterday and I had blonde hair, white hair, black hair.
Romy might as well have just been sat in this podcast, to be honest.
Well, she is. She sat there. And I really was hiding the fact. I really didn't want to be different. And only as I've got older, I'm so proud to be different. I love the fact that people will know me from my hair more than anything. It's just always something that my family always said to me, one day, you'll be really proud to be ginger. And if anything, I hate it when people ask me if it's natural because I'm like, I did not go through all these years of bullying to be asked if it's natural. Yes, it is. Although I do enhance it slightly now. I make it brighter.
That's true, actually, though. Talking about going back to yourself and wanting to love yourself. Because my dad's terrible at remembering people's names, but my dad remembers your hair colour. Sorry, Dad.
I always say to people, I don't know how people don't remember my name because it's the only name that you can spell it backwards. I love that fact. And also, another interesting fact that I think you would enjoy, I don't know if I said it to you the other day, I originally wanted to be called HRH Management, and we applied for it and the Queen declined it. So HRH is my initials and it stands for Her Royal Highness. I was like, and I never really clocked that before when I was younger.
Got declined by the Queen.
And I was like, oh, my mum's so good. Like, so good that she's done that. So my initials are HRH. So then that's why I went kind of HLD. And it was like, I always wanted it to be around something to do with my family and, you know, that sort of stuff. I think I've spoken about that before, but yeah. So that's kind of how we went that way. But I thought you'd find that quite amusing.
I do find that amusing. We have done the last question though.
Yeah, we've gone too far.
No, it's fine because we always waffle anyway. So it's just nothing new.
I'm a waffler, baby.
It's another day in the office, really. But thank you for coming on my podcast. I was like stumbling over my own words because obviously I talk to you so often that it just feels weird to like have it formally in a podcast. But
yeah,
I'm really grateful.
You didn't ask me bad questions, to be fair. I thought they were going to be worse.
Well, I didn't want to put you under too much pressure because you are in control of most of my life. So I do have to be a little bit careful. I keep doing
these really creepy stares at the camera.
You do,
it's really freaking me out. This is why I'm behind the scenes.
Yeah, well, yeah. But no, thank you so much for finally breaking your 1 year of never doing a podcast and saying you never want to do a podcast ever again, because I think, you know, you don't give yourself enough credit for what you do and what you're capable of. And, you know, people should hear about it. So even though you are bad at taking compliments and I'm absolutely shite at giving them, that's as best as you're going to get from me.
Thank you.
Thanks, babe. Love you.
Thank you very much. Thanks for having me. I've really enjoyed myself.